I work the night shift as a security guard at a warehouse in Iowa. It's quiet here, almost always. The place is lit up 24 hours a day, cameras on every corner, shifts rotated by schedule. The job isn't hard. Make sure no one breaks in, steals anything, or hides inside looking for shelter. We get homeless people sometimes, occasionally addicts, but most nights, empty. Every guard keeps a shift log, just a lined notebook with dates, signatures, and brief notes. Timestamps for patrols, whether everything's fine, lights working, alarms armed. I've been filling mine for almost 2 years. 2 weeks ago, I found an entry I didn't remember writing. In my handwriting, on my page, between two entries I knew for sure were mine. Time, 3:26. Noise in the north sector. Everything quiet by the time I arrived. Smell of something rotten. I stared at those lines for 10 minutes. Was it me or not? The hand was familiar, but the phrasing wasn't. I wouldn't have written smell of something rotten. I'd have specified. I always specify. The next night, another note, squeezed between the lines, smaller handwriting. 0344. Cart by the doors moved a few inches. No wind. Cameras didn't catch anything. The watchman is silent. That last line unnerved me. The watchman is silent. But I am the watchman. Why in third person? I started photographing every page as soon as my shift began. Compared them in the morning. After 4 nights, another line appeared. Not in the logbook, on the back of my ID badge, written in ballpoint pen, my own handwriting. He's falling asleep again, and I'm returning. But I wasn't sleeping. I was sure of it. On my feet the whole time, walking the aisles, checking locks, watching monitors, counting rows. Yet there were gaps, seconds missing. I'd blink and it felt like a minute had passed. I repeated my own name in my head to stay alert. Still, something slipped away. On the 7th night, closer to dawn, I reviewed the security footage. I saw myself walking the corridor. Or rather, someone who was me. The posture different, the walk lighter, hands in pockets, though I always keep them visible, security policy. He moved through the camera zones, pausing now and then, peering into corners I never checked. Then he stared straight into the lens, like he knew I was watching. That's when it hit me. This wasn't a hallucination, not someone's prank. It was me, but not me when I was conscious. I went to a doctor, paid privately, confidentially, explained part of it, sleep problems, memory gaps, suspicion of chronic deprivation. He scheduled sleep monitoring, EEG, but I told him I don't sleep. He answered calmly, even a 10-second microsleep is still sleep. You may not notice it. Your brain does. Turns out I was sleeping. Inside myself. Uncontrolled. Several times a night, and in those gaps, someone else drove the body. I read everything I could about dissociative disorders. It's nothing like the movies. No other voices. No stranger in your head talking back. It's a slow shifting. The other personality doesn't want to chat. It's just a continuation of you, but with a different purpose. I started keeping 2 journals, one mine, one his. Left questions for him. He never replied, just his notes, dry, factual, what he saw, where he went, what he touched. On the 15th night, one of the keys went missing. I wore it clipped to my belt. The cameras showed me unclipping it, slipping it into a pocket, and walking out of frame. By morning, the key was back, but scratched, like it had been forced into a lock. I checked the door it opened, to a basement room where we stored confiscated items. No signs of forced entry, but inside was my old notebook from college, the one I hadn't seen since 2008. Pages of diagrams I drew when I wanted to be an engineer. I had no idea how it got there. That night, I strapped a camera to my chest, set it to record, decided either I'll learn the truth or I'll lose my mind. The footage lasted 14 minutes. At minute 8, I blinked more often, then froze, eyes open but vacant. 30 seconds later, a change, the face calmer, a faint smile. I stood, walked to the mirror, stared at myself for minutes, then spoke softly into the camera. My turn now, and walked out of frame. I don't remember when I started fearing myself, but after that, everything slid downhill. I no longer trusted my own actions, never knew whose decision the next step would be, mine or his. Days blurred, memory leaked, events slipped away. When I told people I was home that night, they said, "No, you were on shift," or the opposite. I couldn't breathe. My recorder slipped from my hand. I sat staring at it as if it were a hive spilling alien sounds. My throat pulsed with emptiness. Fear drummed in my skull. Not sharp fear, but heavy, like concrete in the chest. No way to run. Not because it was too late, but because there was nowhere left to go. I walked home, for the first time in ages, on foot. 3 hours through the silence of pre-dawn suburbs. Nobody looked at me, yet I felt eyes, empty windows like staring faces, cameras on poles like old acquaintances. In the stairwell, the light flickered. My apartment door was ajar. Inside, everything neat. I hadn't been there in over a week. I certainly hadn't left my computer on, but the screen glowed, a document open. At the top, in bold, "Final simulation completed." Below, a list of dates, hours, names, cross-referencing my absences with locations across the country. I didn't know the addresses, but next to each was a result. Confirmed, repeat required, replacement successful. At the very bottom, a line that stuck in my throat. Access transferred to next host. Thank you for your physical participation. I turned, and in the black screen of the monitor, I saw my reflection. Only not exactly mine. My face, yes, but the features had shifted. Less fatigue, less fear, more silence. I flexed my fingers. There was a delay, barely noticeable, as if I followed a command instead of giving it. I screamed, but the sound lagged, filtered, as though permitted only after processing. Then the monitor went dark, and the room silent. I touched my face. It was hot, strangely hot. My heart beat not in my chest, but somewhere deeper, from the side. The next day, I went to work as if nothing had happened. A new manager greeted me, smiled, shook my hand, called me by name. Only it wasn't my name. I noticed this only after I signed the shift log, the handwriting familiar, but not mine. The name written clearly, Mark Bellamy. It didn't surprise me. I made my first patrol, cameras running. The night was quiet. The watchman silent.